people are doing in terms of exercise, the way they're executing the exercise, and what I think about when I look at it. So that's what I want to translate over to you guys. Again, nothing is 100% like spot on. Just because I see something that way doesn't mean it's the be all and end all. But it's just, I'm trying to get my mindset across in the way I look at injuries, exercise execution, why things could be going wrong for certain people. So we've got a lot of shoulder issues, typically anyway in gem pop scenarios. Why? Okay, a lot of them are rounded through the shoulders, sat down all day, so there's going to be a few things going on there, which muscles are then becoming inactive and don't function very well. Now when we go and put them on the machines and get them to do rows or whatever exercise we're asking them to do, certain muscles are inactive and then other things take over. And that can be sometimes execution and the way we want it cued. And when we break it down mechanically down on the gym floor, you'll see certain things come through and in fact, okay, the warm-ups could be done this way, or I could be getting them to initiate moving this way. So certain muscles then actually take over and take pressure off other ones. That makes sense. And when we break it down, it'll be a little bit easier. Another one is, like, we could use Linda as this one in the mix. I did say I was going to talk about Linda, but then there's a lot of shoulder shit going on as well. So I'm going to break it out into a couple of scenarios today when we go on the gym floor. So Linda came with a hip issue. She was told she had arthritis in her hip. Okay, so all I did was look at what she could do and what was missing. And I'll break that down on the gym floor as well. Knees, how many people got knee issues at the minute in the gym? Anybody complaining of knee issues? Simon Davis out there has the issue.
No, I know.
But it's not clear, yeah? Is he still doing the stuff that I told him to do? Okay.
It's pretty much gone.
Yeah?
I think it's a little bit the outside of it.
Perfect. Okay, and honestly, a lot of things take a little bit more time than what people want them to take. But it's how much they can apply of what we're asking them to do. Ideally, if people are injured, I want them to do shit every day on the areas that are missing. Kev Lowe, back issue. Kev Lowe's back issue, he's the type of person that if he can't do something and it's irritating him, he'll just leave. He doesn't like to be, this is the way I've taken his mindset on it. If he can't keep up with the rest of the lads in there, he'd rather just leave than do something he knows. Like he knows he can squat heavy, he knows he can lift heavy, and he's that type of person. So if you can't do that, you'd rather do nothing. So my goal is to get him doing that as quick as possible. Okay, and I'll go through how the foot, and what I did with the foot is how it's all linked to his lower back. So we'll break that down today. And all I've asked him to do is roll his fucking feet and his calves. And the first time since October he's had no pain. Anyway. Now he's messaging me today, a little, like he said, I'm squatting. Was he in this morning? No, yesterday?
Yesterday he was in, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so he said there was a little niggle on his lower back yesterday. So I'll talk to you about what I told him to do to start to clear that out a little bit. Even though he's rolled his feet and his calves, there's other issues upstream that could be still playing a factor in it. But it's all linked from there. Okay, so I'm going to break that down today and what I give them homework for. So let's say somebody is squatting on a semi-private session. Okay, how did you warm up? So these are the things I'd be asking. How did you warm up today? Right, bang. I go through a step-by-step process in my head of the main culprits, and I give them homework to do from there. Or I tell them to go and start unlocking it a little bit. Right, come back. Let's tweak it, and I give them a regression from there. Okay. So if it's low back. Okay, so let's go low back first.
Is it a black pen I got now?
Yes.
Use a black one, mate, because that just looks luminous on camera.
Off the grab. So how many people, when they heard the low back, what's the typical thing they would do in terms of helping the low back? Foam roll the low back. Okay. I'm not saying this is 100% again all the time, but 9 times out of 10, the low back isn't the problem. The low back's doing more, right? So it's like the scenario we spoke about downstairs. If you're on a close down at the end of the night, and all of us have been working all day and we left shit everywhere, how tired are you at the end of the night? Knackered. So you're gonna get pissed off. So basically, the low back is tidying up at the end of the night, because all the other players that need to do the mechanics for you or bringing other muscles aren't doing a job. Do you know what I mean?
It's usually Greg.
And I did say, make sure Greg's putting his stuff away with everybody. Everyone go straight to Greg. To be fair, he's like, he's biting his nails, I know he's doing.
Still not actually.
Not in his head. So with the low back, sometimes you can go the joint below, check there first. Okay? So you can go, okay, what's the hip doing? Can we stretch something through the hip? So what would you go to as a main bang for buck through the hip? Rec fem. What else? Quad.
But that's a rec fem.
Rec fem.
She's sharp today.
She had a weekend in Dublin, just put her out of bed.
Yeah.
Alright? We're still going to give some shit about that as well.
So he's looking sharp today.
I thought your belly's good. Jesus.
The glutes?
Glutes, yeah. Glutes. Now, I'm going to question you more on the glutes. The glutes is a big section, right? So what areas of the glutes? What glutes do we have?
Glute med.
Medium.
Okay. Need. And we go
Max.
as well. Max.
Piriformis.
Performance.
Ellipsos as well, right?
Okay, you got the ellipsos. So hip flexors. And the reason I'm singling them out is I want you to think about where they start and where they go and how you can actually unlock them. Because I'm going to show you how to stretch them in different ways where it's like, fuck. You put yourself in a position, it's like, holy shit. You come out, it's like you've got a new leg. Right? So hip flexors. Iliacus. And you got your psoas. Again, they will insert in different, okay, they insert into the hip, but one attaches to the lumbar spine, and then the other one attaches around the back of the fucking femur. So it's not just into the femur, it's around the back. Right, so now you have to start thinking about what position is my foot going to go into when I stretch out in the sagittal plane type of thing, because typically people just go sagittal plane, stretch the hip flexors. The hip flexors are fucking hard to stretch. So it's not about getting it here. From my experience, it's about getting it there when you move in these directions, and about putting your lower leg into a certain position to really take up that stretch on it. Okay, so we'll go through that. What else?
TFL.
TFL, yeah. Where's your TFL? Where is it located on the body? It's right on the side of the hip, so it's more a little bit anterior, but it has attachments up here into one of the glutes more fascially, and then down lower into the leg there. But you have a lot of attachments. I think of that as like a crossroads from fascia here. The TFL, you get an IT band attached into there. Okay, your quads start to attach into there. You got your glutes attached into there. Okay, so imagine that like a crossroads. Okay.
So sartorius attaching to the
Okay. So let's think of it this way. We talk about like VMO, right? VMO, you need to strengthen your VMO to have a good knee stability, all that stuff, correct? Where's the VMO origin from? It's fucking right there. Okay. So now you got all of these like sartorius coming through, VMO coming through. So yes, I could do this on a knee extension, like leg extension, or I could do my Poliquin step ups or Peterson step up or whatever. So that's going to stabilize there. But as I run, I still need to add up the hip and decelerate it. So if my hip's not functioning there, I can't switch all this on effectively. Make sense? So we have to start breaking this down and look at big bang for buck ones that we could utilize on the gym floor to allow that to free up, take some pain away, and then give a regression. Okay, so it might not be barbell on back if they got back issues, because if that's a lot of stress going through the lumbar spine or the cervical thoracic into the lumbar spine, you might give them a regress version, but give them something to do in between sets to free up as well. So we'll go through some scenarios in a sec. Anything else?
Calves.
Go hip first.
Okay.
Like this.
Thanks. Do me a favour, please. Get another black pen. Thanks. I did beautifully, by the way. So yeah,
Magnus,
Magnus.
brevis. Just call out all the adjectives. Is it Greg in it?
Longus, or brevis, yeah. Right. You could add things like sartorius to that type of thing as well. So that those will start across and come in through the hip, coming up from around the knee. If we think about those first, Magnus and longus. The Magnus you could associate with part of the hamstrings. So this is why adductors is good, because now you've got to go into the back through the hamstrings as well. So, on the foot. Hamstrings there too. Now, if you look at where they insert, you've got your medial hamstrings. Magnus is going to, you have fibers of that cross the hamstrings. So again, we went through shoulder, we talked about shoulders first. People are sat in this position. You have to think about the environment your clients are in every day as well. So the environment impacts them, right? So if somebody's sat in this position all day, or sat into their environment is impacting the way their posture is, yes? Correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody's sat on a chair all day, so let's say Greg's sat forward now, so imagine Greg's at a laptop right now, which is pretty much what his clients are in all day. What part of your, if you relax your legs a little bit more, Greg, you've got longer legs, just a little bit. Okay, what part of your legs are touching that seat?
Hamstrings.
And
Ass.
and adductor magnus. So if you think of where that seat is on his leg, he's getting stuff laying down now because that's his environment. So you think of your big toe, the more you put pressure through your big toe, the more calcification goes through your big toe. That's why it's the big toe. So let's say, for example, what socks you on, Greg? Okay. So imagine his socks are tight. What's going to happen to his? If you pull his socks down, what would you see on his leg?
Line.
Lines.
Yeah.
So that's the environment impacting on his leg. So if you look at Greg, if he sat down 8 hours a day, he's getting potential adhesions locking his magnets into his hamstrings. So how much restriction is that going to give him? A little bit, quite a bit of restriction. Yeah. So if somebody's like coming, if we're giving somebody an RDL, we 90% of our clients sit down all fucking day. So we're going to give them these. You can stretch them, but you might have to start selecting different positions for them as well. Okay. So stretching it out, yes, perfect. But you could have quad tightness. That's why I go through the stretch-based stuff first, at quick hitters, and then we can start selecting what they're going to do, change foot position, things like that for the squat, for the RDL. Okay, so they could be going through the RDL, but it could be that they're getting this, and their upper back's fine, right? But if they're getting that tuck, well, straight away you're going to be thinking, okay, adductors, hamstrings, because they can't release that. Okay, they can't get into that hip position. It could be technique for sure. It could be something where it's like it's a technique thing, but if they're still not getting it after time and time again, you could start to look at giving them stretch-based stuff, isolated, and then integrating back in. Okay, or it might be just a total exercise selection change. Okay, so these are the things you want to think about in terms of hips. There's a lot to go there. Yeah? We'll break them down to his big hitters in a second. Foot and ankle. I'll change that. Right, better for the grab sound.
Gotta make sure you look smart, mate.
Foot and angle. What have we got around the foot and ankle?
Calves, the legs.
Okay, gastroc. What else? Soleus, you said, yeah?
Soleus.
Yep.
Tube. Frontal tibialis.
So we go anterior tib.
Posterior.
There you go.
And you should use good for something other than just coffee.
I made the coffee, made it taste better today. Anything else?
Peroneals.
Yes. Perineals. could talk about a few others, but they're the main bang for buck ones that we can start to affect in terms of rolling, stretching, all those types of things as well. Okay, they're the main bang for buck ones. Now, the reason I like the perineals is you'll have, especially the longest, that goes under the foot as well, so you can roll the bottom of the feet and you'll affect the perineals. So the longest itself, so let's go stand up toe. Take your shoe and sock off, please.
Oh, socks really? And take my toes.
Oh. Don't worry, you can get your feet under Bex's thing in the office, she does her nails every day.
Really socks off?
Come on, get them off. Can't get Greg's feet out front, no? Don't want to see Greg's feet. That's a fashion thing, just do your big toe ones, is it?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, nice stand from there. Okay. So your pronis longest is going to start around here, yeah? Comes under the malleolus, under the foot, and in the big toe. Right? So if I'm rolling under the foot, I'm going to start to affect the fascia, yes, but I start to unlock all of these and start to activate. Yeah, you've got proprioceptors there, so you're going to start to fire a few things up and make that foot think, fuck, I've got to do something. So that is going to allow this to start to unlock so I can pronate. So if that's locked up under the foot, it's not going to allow that pronation. If all this is gunked up there, it's not going to allow pronation. Okay? What does somebody need to do when they squat? Fucking pronate.
Yeah.
That calcaneus has got to evert a little bit. It shouldn't be there, for sure. It should be pop. It should be everting a little bit to switch things on. Okay? So what else on there allows some better pronation as well? Anterior. Yeah. What else? Posterior. Come back. And your posterior starts there. And the posterior is so face forward. Posterior starts at the back, but laterally, goes behind the leg, under the malleolus, under the foot, and into the first, second, and third toe. Right? So if this is all tight, and to be honest, how many people in this facility do running as well? They'll do like the 5Ks park run. You got Charlotte Latham at the minute, she's enjoying her runs. Mike Ewins, like good runners.
Tori runs 10k every morning.
Vic Holloway,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So Simon Davis, he's doing his
Half marathon thing.
So if you think about the posterior tib as well, you've got your anterior as well. They're going to do the same, similar things, but what are they designed to do if you're running? They're designed to decelerate pronation and then pull you back. Make sense? So the same thing with pronates longus comes under. So that's why we're looking at, you can relate this to the squat as well, because you still need, again, you still need to pronate to switch things on. Now, if that's locked up, you could be pronated and you can't pronate anymore. So people have flat feet, or some people have eye arches, or some people are quite neutral but they can't fucking move. Right? So if you look at inactivity, people sat down all day, they're not getting any stimulation through the feet. Okay, and then you, like, talking footwear is a total different subject as well, because that can fuck you up too. But if somebody has, and this is the problem with people that come in and go, I got running shoes, and the running club told me, yeah, or the running treadmill test, or whatever, they look at the ground strike, and then they say, right, we need this shoe. But if somebody's flat-footed, and sometimes they even get orthotics as well, what do they do if they're flat-footed? When they buy their shoe for running, or they get an orthotic for it, if they're flat-footed,
Like a wedge at the end,
so they put a wedge there. What's the problem? Still can't pronate. Pronate, they need to pronate and then supinate. Right? That's the same thing with a squat. That's why sometimes I say spread the floor, or knees out a little bit. I know Rogan's not a fan of knees out because you could get torque through the knee, but if it's coming to this position, it's not torque. That's could potentially be end range, and that's quite detrimental. But if I'm seeing this and it's not coming out, then I'd rather go knees out a bit. Just focus on driving that knee out of touch. If it's staying there over the toe, I'm quite happy about it. Okay, but if it's like driving out and getting irritation through there, then it's an issue. And in terms of that, and they block them, then you're just taking them from a pronated position, and they can't pronate, to a supinated position and they can't pronate. What's the issue with this position now?
It's unstable.
It's unstable, and now you're more likely to go lateral on the ligament and go out on your ankle. Okay, so a lot of the times, all people need to really do, a lot of the time, not everybody, because you could have a functional foot issue, rolling all through here, anterior tib, posterior tib, all through the back, so rolling through the calves. And this is all I do on a mobility class. I teach them how to roll their feet properly. I teach them how to roll all through the calves, anterior as well, properly. What the pain should be like, if they get pain, how much they need to back off. So if somebody's rolling, have you ever given somebody ball or foam roll work to do for their feet? What do they do?
Just a couple of rolls.
A couple of rolls. How fast do they do it?
Yeah.
Show me with your feet. How fast will they go? Like that.
Yeah.
That's very superficial. So the pain threshold there is like 3 out of 10. So I'd light, they don't feel any pain. They have to be between a 6 and an 8. So they need to be holding on to a rack or some kind of stability so they can put downward pressure in. I don't want a 10 out of 10. I want a 6 to an 8. So they should be able to keep that up for a good couple of minutes to roll through. And it's the same here. Some of the rollers people are getting used to. I had a couple of people on barbells. Okay, now I'm not a fan of barbells all the time, but they can feel it better. They should feel those areas that are starting to get all locked up a little bit. Okay, so then you go through the calves, the barbells. That's what we did with Kev. So why did this allow Kev's back pain to dissipate?
So his knees can go forward.
Yeah, knees go forward. Okay, so let's look at it this way. Okay, so knees go forward. Okay, which means he can stay more upright. That's one. What else? So that's more sagittal plane thinking, right? Okay. But what else? Can he now? So if you looked at, so I'll give you. I should have told you this one, especially Kev. He's very high arched. His feet are like boom up. So if once he squat like, you ever seen him squat, Kev? Knees bam, straight out. He sits deep, right into his hips. He's got good hip sockets. He sits deep, but his knees are like out. He's got a very like Kelly Starrett squat. Do you know what I mean? Drive the knees out and out with the toes and shit. So if you think of that, his foot is like driven up into this high arch. He's very supinated. But based off what I saw in terms of that, is like he can't pronate enough. So that's why I went to his feet and his calves first. So that's allowing him a little bit more pronation, which yes, it's going to unlock. But what unlocks that dorsiflexion? What unlocks that?
Just this.
Nope. Yes, I know. It's given that ability for the heel to do that, to evert. So you have to remember the bones have to move for the muscles to react to where you're giving it to. Make sense? So if that bone moves, that allows these muscles to now decelerate the motions you're giving it. So remember you have to stretch a muscle first for it to contract. Make sense? You can have a little bit of like, let's say we're going to rack pulls, you can go for a dead stop and all that stuff. But initially in movement, so if you're going through a squat or you're going through a motion, the muscle has to stretch first before you contract it. Okay? So for him, unlocking and allowing that heel to come into this position allows these mid-tarsal joints here to roll, because now the talus can drop in. It allows the mid-tarsal joints to come down, so he pronates a little bit. That allows the dorsiflexion. Make sense? So if you think of that, what's happening to the tibia? So if there's pronation, the tibia goes forward, yes, comes in a little bit and rotates. Okay? So if the force is coming there, that means the heel's spinning fastest. The bone is fastest from the floor. So that means that's a little bit slower than this, which means that has to follow now. Okay? So if that goes forward, what's happened to a femur? It's going in flexion of the hip. But if that goes in, what happens to this? It's going in as well. So what's controlling the knee? Glutes, right? But if you think of that, if they're switched off, back's going to kick in. Okay, so if that's supinated, okay, you can't pronate to switch all of this on, and he's supinated, and he goes out, drives his knee out, that ain't switching on. What's taking over?
Back.
Lower back. Okay, so there's that chain reaction all the way up from the foot. Now, if he's been in this position for a long time, that means this is going to start to get a little bit aggravated. His TFL could literally be a little bit locked up. All these tissues are still going to be locked up as well. Okay, so he still needs to clear these things. This is his homework. So this, yeah, he knows to do that every day. And he got up, it's like he had a new foot. My back pain's gone. Freed him up. But so now he's gone back to squatting. He's there a little bit. So there can be still some residual stuff going on. So he clears that out, dissipates. Okay, does he need to stop doing that after a week? No. He's going to need to keep doing it. Now we also showed him the seated calf raise. Yeah? So if you look at the bottom of the foot, you look at all of those muscles that came under the foot, posterior tib, peroneus longus, all that stuff. Do they work when the knee's flexed, or do they work when the knee's extended? So if I'm in a squat, deep squat, where's the hardest position of the squat? Bottom.
Flex.
So which calf muscles are doing most of the work? Gastroc or soleus? Posterior tib, peroneus longus. Gastroc's flexed there, coming around this way. Okay, so that deceleration is going to come from, I'm not saying it doesn't work at all, I'm saying most of it is going to come from the deeper ones to control that pronation, contracting the supination. Make sense? Soleus needs to help decelerate that tibia. Then you've got all of that reaction there. Now your hamstrings can kick in. VMO, glutes can control the knee as well. Okay? So we showed him how to stretch all of these structures here on the seated calf raise. So that's his routine in the mornings. So if you see him come in and you're doing the warm up downstairs, make sure he's upstairs doing that. That's his best bang for buck. So his routine should be, from what we looked at, foot, calf, glute medius, glutes, TFL.
How could someone stretch the soleus, Gav, without a seated calf machine?
They could sit deep.
Because the leg press isn't going to work as it's just going to be gastroc, right?
Yeah. So you could sit deep into like a squat position, but you need your foot off the back of a plate. So you could get your toes on the plate, heel down. But you can do like the old school. I remember when I was young, watching David Beckham stretches, so that the old school, like Andy Beattie at Barrytown used to teach us, stretching the soleus out in this position. So if you're bending your knee, the gastroc takes away, and then you get all the deeper ones. That's the old school that one of the footballers used to do. They're like this, stretching your calves
I
out.
get it if I load my back, if I load a squat and sit down, and then just push forward.
Yeah, you can get it. You can get it. So you can go in that squat position, a little bit weighted, dumbbell here, but you have to get your toes on a plate or some form of box and get that dorsiflexion. You have to get the dorsiflexion, but you'll get in more the deeper calf muscles more if the knee's bent. So your soleus, posterior tib, all that stuff, your knee has to be bent or flexed. Then if you get in down there, you need straight, you get more gastroc. Those ones are your standing calf raise. So I do like calf raises for, well, you wouldn't tell from the calves for training, but you're training 3 times a week, so don't grow. And you do it, I'm just going to do a 12-week phase of calves. 10 times 10, fucking 12 weeks. I like them for loaded stretching to help range of motion. So with him, it's like 6 to 10 second hold at the bottom, contract up, come back down, and he does 3 to 4 reps per set, and then he adds weight on the next set, and he adds weight again on the next set. And literally, he was like, fucking dropped. Straight in the squat. Fuck. Nothing through his back, he's just upright. Totally upright. And that's from the feet. Now, not everybody's like that. Not everybody will react that way. So this is where we have to have go-tos in terms of that. The reason I like the calves first for the squat is typically that's where people are pretty locked up and they don't work very well around the feet. That can be shoes that people wear day to day, especially females that wear high heels and stuff. That's the normal thing we know. But it's giving the females a lot of strategies to go with and work on. Okay. Right, thanks for your feet.
I'll paint it next time.
Next time I get Greg to do a manicure and you can fill it as well.
Shave my feet as well.
So, what's that?
Shave my feet as well.
Yeah. Go hobbit feet, fucking hairy. So with Linda, let's go back to Linda now, who's got hip arthritis. She fucking could have. But what's arthritis in terms of osteoarthritis? It's basically where there's lack of synovial fluid going through the joint. Tightness, inflexible, all these structures we just talked about from the foot all the way up to the hip. All these are locked up and they're not doing their job to allow the hip to have that little bit of gap, little bit of space. The more motion in that joint, the more synovial fluid you secrete. So if you're inflexible around there, you're just going to get that tightness and you're going to grind over that area. So you wear away all the cartilage in the joint and eventually it's bone on bone and then you've got arthritis. So the point is for Linda, it's like, okay, let's see what you've got. And if you look at her ankles, it's fucking zero. You look at her hips, it's fucking zero. So all I do in sessions, she does split squats every session. The split squats improve over time. It's not the split squat that's doing the thing, it's this, and then locking knees, and then going into a split squat. Make sense? So if you look at the flexibility component of it, I make it a little bit more flexible. So you've heard Sam talk about proprioceptors and stuff before, but if you make something flexible, you've got mechanoreceptors that send signals. We covered this a couple of months back in one of the staff devs. You've got mechanoreceptors, so basically they're messengers at joints that send messages to other joints to tell them what they should be doing. So if I increase a range at let's say the hip, and I don't put that into a movement, I haven't taught those messengers to do something, to control that new range. So with this, the goal with Linda was, we're going to open up her feet, we're going to open up her hips, but I then need to put that into a movement. So I teach those messengers to talk, so the body knows what it's doing within the movement, or the new range that I've given it, and then we do it again. And then exercise, and then do it again, and then exercise, and we just build that over and over and over. Because eventually she wants to go back into semi-privates. Now, with our semi-privates, we do split squats, but they're not a predominant A-series factor, right? So ideally we want to squat in, some form of squat if we can, but if you watch a squat, it's like, fuck, she's trying to get there, but she's locked, right? If you look at her feet, she's got, especially on the left side, she's got like a valgus toe position, so it's like this. So what's that called there? You see if somebody's got this bone sticking out on their big toe, bunions, so she's got a bunion. So what does that tell you?
The pressure's gone.
Remember the big toe is the big toe. Why is the big toe the big toe? Because you should be putting more pressure through that joint, that bone, to push off the floor, and that's where calcification lays down. So where's the calcification on Linda? There. So as she toes off, she's not toeing off like this, she's toeing off like this. So what's she trying to do? Pronate. She can't pronate through that angle. Right? So if I give her more stretch through that angle and give her more mobility to the angle, she should be torn off a little bit better. Right? But her problem is this one. That hip. If you look at the bunion, it's all on the left. If you look at all the a lot of her tightness, it's all on the left. So remember, the pain, 9 times out of 10, isn't the problem. It's somewhere else in the body that's making that do most of the work. At the end of the night, putting all the plates back on the racks and all that shit. This hip's putting all the plates back on the racks. Every day. I'm getting tired. And the more I work with this side and integrate it, the less pain she has. She now gets on and off a bike. She started doing the bike work. Bless her. She was riding a bike and she fell off because she couldn't get her leg off the bike. Imagine Linda going down the road on a bike and she can't get off. But I'm like, and all she wants to do is play with the grandkids and do all that stuff. So it's not an athlete performance thing. Like this woman's in her 60s. She wants to play with the grandkids. Like, she just wants to be able to do that. But now she can get on and off her bike a little bit better, and eventually we're going to get her back into semi-privates. But we're going to go into the hip a little bit more now. If you see someone squatting like this, and they're shifting, hip shifting, all that stuff, and you see this with the knee, what are you thinking?
Inactive glute.
Inactive glutes, for sure. What else?
Structurally imbalanced.
Structurally imbalanced could be weakness.
Yeah, VMO have to be a little bit more.
Weak VMO.
Tight adductors.
Tight adductors. So we had rec fem, you could say weakness there. Okay. What else? Could be that. If you're talking adductors, you could be there. Could be tight rec fem. Could be a lot of things, right? But if you watch a squat, I'll go to the side because Sam's got his camera. That's coming in, and as you watch her, she does that. She's fucking rounding. So straight, you could say thoracic, but I'm thinking this. All this is locked. So she's got no ankle motion. Hamstrings, adductors are locked. So they're my go-tos. Make sense? So what exercises am I going to do to lengthen all this out? I'll show you some stretches and stuff downstairs that you can do at home. You can do manual stretching on your clients as well, especially if you're doing one-to-ones. It's like Sharon. She's quite restricted in certain areas.
Yeah, massively.
Do you know what I mean? So she's coming to mobility again tonight, and the more she comes, she's like, I feel amazing. So it's putting these types of things into the one-to-one sessions and going, okay, mobility, move, and then I find the flexibility improves much quicker than just stretching. Do you know what I mean? So with Linda, we've looked at the adductors and the hamstrings. We have stretch your quads and all that type of stuff, but this is the predominant one, and this. Right? So now she's able to keep her knee over her toes. She still struggles to get down, but now the more we're stretching her hamstrings and her adductors out, she's getting down more. She's still a little bit restricted, she still needs more time, but she's getting there much better. And then we can get her back in. So that's why we pulled her out of semi-privates, because she just keeps hammering that over and over again. It's not going to help her hip. Here's another thing. We stretch that. What could you do if this came up in semi-private? Out of all of that, they stretch this out, it keeps her knee over her toe a little bit better. What could you do in semi-private to keep her squatting? Because I can get her to squat with no problem. Upright, knees over the toes. I can get her to do it, but that's not the point. I still need to make her be able to do it without the corrections as well. But if she's in semi-private session, so let's say I integrate it back into semi-private, she still does a couple of one-to-ones with me a week, and she's now doing more semi-privates as well. I would give you feedback on what to do with that, but what would your go-to be to get her to squat?
Elevate the heels.
Heels. As soon as I put her on a Reebok deck, off the back end, I get her heels up into more of a heel elevation of a cyclist squat. She does that. Boom. Knees, bang, straight over the toes, no problem. More upright, no problem. Bosh. So what does the heels elevated do? It shortens all this. On the bottom. So there's more slack. She's already at end range. She can't give any more. So I shorten her range, gives her more slack, more range to go through. Yes, she's got more ankle dorsiflexion for sure because you plant flex her. But at least now she's got more ankle range to go through, but it's less tension for the back, upper back. Because if it was still tension there, she'd still do that. But she doesn't.
So that's what we said last week about changing resistance profile. Obviously elevating the heels, using a heel wedge, reverse band with Rachel this morning on the squats gives her that confidence to go down. You're just changing how that resistance goes through the profile of the body. So if it doesn't look right, change them.
Okay, we're going to go onto the floor in a second, and we're going to look at shoulder stuff in terms of rows in a little bit more detail in what to go through and why I sort of look at contracting in a different way, and why some people may have shoulder issues if they keep rowing and doing the same thing over and over. Okay, it's not to say that they can't do what they're doing, it's to say, well, if they're activating something first, then it's a little bit easier for them, and it takes pressure off the muscles that are fucking them up. Okay, that makes sense? Yeah. Any questions on that?
I have a question about Rachel, right? When she squats,
Rachel.
she had
Small
she just joined us.
Oh, Smallman?
Yeah,
Okay.
after 21 challenge. So basically, she has, I think, surgery on her hip, right? And basically, when she squats, it's fine. We are working on the position of her upper body, but she does like this, you know, all the time, and then come up. that I have to correct and say, hey, put more weight on your heel, try
Yep.
to, but she's not able, so all the time, and I really don't know how to correct it,
Okay.
to be honest.
So can be a learning pattern for sure. Could be learning. But if she's had surgery, we need to know what surgery she's had for sure. Definitely. Okay. If it's surgery around the hips, do we know what surgery she's had?
Lower back with it.
Lower back, yeah.
Lower back surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if she's had lower back surgery, what are the main things that go through your head if that's the case? What's the first things that come up in your head?
She has
Safety.
Yeah,
Safety.
She has
Is that
glutes are locked.
glutes gonna be locked? I mean, can I rub this off?
Yeah.
You good? So glutes. Okay.
Lats probably.
Lats.
Yeah, that's activation. That's right.
Okay. What else?
She was arching that lower back too much because she doesn't know how to keep
Okay.
tension, you know, by breathing. Yeah.
No back arch. Now, off that, I'm going to put. Hopefully I've spelled that right. Diaphragm. So she's had. I'm going to like. I don't want to be voodoo-ish. Like we've all breathed through the diaphragm and we know what it's done in terms of our flexibility, stability, and strength as well. So we've done it on the gym floor with Rogan. Rogan gave us some good stuff on that, and that's a quick way to improve flexibility straight away, just through the diaphragm, especially if people have low back issues. Okay. If she's had surgery, how much stress is there on her body? Quite a lot,
That much,
right?
yeah.
So a quick way, if you ask her to breathe, like take a deep breath in for me, Rach. She'll go like that. In fact, now I'm not saying the surgery caused that, she could have been stressed out before that anyway. She just could be a chest breather. So if she's a chest breather, straight away, my low back is lax. There's no stability. Make sense? But if I breathe, now everything's braced, right? Well, potentially, right? So if you go breathe in and just do that, you still need to breathe out there and out to the low back as well. So that's why, if for example Josie comes in, she said, should I squat my weight belt on? My belt for the squatting? Yeah, squat. Right, loosen it up a little bit. I say I want her low back pushing against it. I want her abs pushing out and forward. So as she breathes in, it's like she's bracing everything. So if you take a breath in and then stop yourself from urinating, you'll feel a total different scenario. So stand up there. Stand up.
Yeah, stand up.
Everyone, stand up. So just take a deep breath in, but take a belly breath instead of it. So see if your chest breathing first or not. Great, really focused. Just like that. Okay. Stand. Face each other. Put your hands on each other's shoulders. Luigi, you watch the lads.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath in. And if your hands move up, odds are you're going through your shoulders and your chest is coming up. Yeah? And now, breathe out. Don't hold it. I'm passing out a minute. Take a deep breath in. Get that belly expanded. But I really want you to focus on pushing outwards through the belly. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard, yeah? Okay, and again. Now hold it, and then squeeze like you're going to wet yourself. You do need a wee as well. I'll take a wee break in a second. Should I see the difference? I'm gonna wet myself. Bang! You tense there straight away. Okay. So you sit down. You could be looking at things like that with it straight away. The diaphragm thing could help us really quick, and put it in a different position. You have to remember, where was the surgery done? Why was the surgery taking place? If it's just low back, what do we know now about the low back that could be affecting the low back?
Oh yeah.
The foot. So just because she had low back surgery, was that really the problem?
No,
We don't know.
The foot.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
But all we need to look at as coaches, we're not doctors, we're not physiotherapists, we can only look at movement. So if I see somebody squat and they're rotating, I'm thinking, why the fuck are they rotating like that? So one, are their feet in the right position? Charlotte later, if you watch her squat, every time I say line your feet up, she thinks she's neutral, she's like that. She thinks she's in a proper neutral position, but that's her stance. I'm like, put your fucking foot back. She's like, it is. I'm like, fucking ain't, look at it. Line it up. Do you know what I mean? So what I do with her, I line up the foot pads, but I line it the other way. So I don't want any heels on it, I want any heels against it, because now it's straight. And then I see. So then sometimes if there's a twist, I know there's something going on the foot, which for her it is. It is. So the more I teach her to stretch her foot out, the more she can help that squat. But also that's the foot that does it, but that's the one she gets cramps on. That's the one that the muscle keeps cramping.
It's funny because I know Bryden is a bunion, and she shifts to that side. So you can see her like she's just she doesn't shift like that. She just sticks her ass back on one side and compared to the other.
Yeah.
She knows bunions.
He's gonna send this video now. But it starts at the feet. Like if you can't put, like, you gotta push through that floor. So that means you gotta pronate and you gotta get force through the feet. So if your feet don't work well, like they don't have to be like the best feet in the world. You need to be able to load them and unload them. Bang, contract. Those muscles have to contract and produce force to push you up, especially if you're lifting heavy weight. Right? What happened with Tracy Griffiths last night? She was with me and you were taking the session, and it was Emma Paulson, and then Tracy was the other one. So remember her squat, she said put her feet up, right? So her heels were elevated, but her ankle motion didn't change. So she was okay, but her ankle motion went to there, and then she did that. Okay? Okay, why have I put overhead squats in this space?
Mobility.
So first
Fuck it, one is hard. You've got a brace there, for sure, it's hard.
Yeah.
What does it give you guys the opportunity to do?
Screen them.
Screen them. Screen them. Right? So every exercise is a test. Every one of them. So if we're coaching, we should be coaching, right? Looking at every opportunity for somebody to improve. So that's why the overhead squats are in there. It's not because they're fancy and all that shit. I want sticks, I want bands, easy. I don't need load. If you elevate the heels, okay, feet are out, let's do dorsiflexion, okay, perfect. Then if they're still doing this, fuck. Got to work on their other thoracic issues going on, tight lats or inactive lats, right? Rhomboids, all that type of stuff. If you're going flat-footed, normal overhead squat, then you can see what's going on there. Makes sense? And maybe later on today or in a couple of weeks we'll go through the overhead squat and quick hitters to look at. Okay? In terms of knee caves in, okay, you've got feet, ankles, VMO, all that, adductors, all that stuff. Right? But it still doesn't take away from what we just covered. So they still need to do, if you look at the mobility aspect of it in that first 5 minutes, give them a little bit more mobility on every area of the body. Every one. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of going back to Rachel, it's going to be a lot of stress through her as well, for sure. That diaphragm, she can't activate her abs enough. She's stressed out, so I check her diaphragm, breathe in, just get the focus on that at home. That's easy win for her, because she can do that in the evenings. She'll probably sleep better as well, just relaxing her. She's more relaxed before she goes to bed. But she's learning how to contract the diaphragm. Right? Then you have to look at, was the low back the main issue? So go with your tweaks of, because she isn't that inflexible. I've seen her,
She's quite
seen her move. She's quite flexible.
Yeah.
So is it a case of what's going on with the foot?
Yeah, I think
Could the feet be
must be
things? So what are you going to give her homework to do?
To
Roll the feet.
right?
So I just
show
get the
her
broomsticks down in the
limits.
corner, just fucking roll on the broomstick. It's
Yeah.
worse than the ball. Getting there quick. So you put the right pressure in. What type of pain threshold do you want out of 10?
6 to 8.
6 to 8. So now you're rolling at least 2 minutes on the foot. Okay, push you back on the squat. Let's see what that looks like. You don't affect anything else, you just look at the foot.
Yeah.
Did that improve, yes or no? I don't care if it's the main problem or it's not. If you've improved somebody's motion, they're going to train better. I'm not here to say I was right and there was this. It's not about that. It's about getting them moving better. Do you know what I mean? So if we can integrate that muscle back in, and that motion at the ankle, and that squat looks better, right, let's train it. Why do I know it was the weight that was the problem for Tracy and not her ankle motion?
From a powerlifting stuff.
Because when you took it off, the weight off, she did it probably.
Went upstairs, did the overhead squat, and she went down, no problem. She had no weight, and she did an overhead squat. So she's chasing weight because she's trying to do powerlifting. That's okay. But if it's putting her in this position, she's doing a good morning instead of the squat, okay, that might be an issue. Because then you've got what things are taking over. And this is where you can look at resistance profiles and all that stuff. Right, so if she's used, you can look at femur to tibia length. You don't really know the exact articulation of the femur into the pelvis, you don't know that. But you can have a good guess in changing the foot position and seeing what more of an upright squat looks like for them. And that might just be their squat stance. That would be a better squat for them. Not everybody can cycle squat. I've seen Hayley Davis squat, in fact. She needs to squat wide. Every time she squats wide, she's better. So if I give her a cycle squat, she does this. She hasn't got the mechanics for it. So for her, if I squat her wide like a sumo stance, she can stay more upright. Boom, she can feel her glutes more. And it gets adductors for sure, she's in a wide stance. But she still feels more quad. So I'm hitting more of a musculature for her, and she's training harder. So just by looking at what better position is for her. So if I drew, let's see, really shit drawing the squat. Where's the line of force going to go? Where do you want the weight to go?
Heels.
To the heels. But so let's say the barbell's on the back. Okay. Barbell's there. The weight should be going right through the foot, through the center of the foot. Right. So now you have to look at the distance from the weight, where the weight's going through, to the lever length. Right. So you got your weight here, and you got the knee there, and then the hip. So is that a knee dominant exercise or a hip dominant exercise?
Hip.
Hip.
Yeah.
So the lever's over here. Unless they're, but you get some people that'll squat. So let's do another drawing. There. So the force is going here, hip, there's the main force, there's the knee. Where's the longer lever? Knee. It's just more of a quad dominant for them. Okay? So neither's good or bad, right? Neither's good or bad, it's just what are we going to do to the position to make it more quad, more hip, what's happening at the ankles? Do you know what I mean? If they've taken up all their ankle range, that's fine. But now it could be tibia to femur, it could be femur articulated in the pelvis, right? So whatever hip socket joint they have and all that shit.
Gavin, could you lift up the point of your toes when you squat to make it more like hamstrings dominant? You know.
So you mean the RDL?
No, on the squat. So for example, you're a little bit the heels, but instead of that, you're a little bit here. So you're forced to keep like more weight on the rear side.
Okay, what's the problem with that? So think about what they're doing.
You're full.
You're going to fall backwards.
Yeah.
One. What are you taking out the range of when you do that? So let's say the foot's flat there. You squat, you bend your knees, yeah?
Yeah.
So you go through angle dorsiflexion, right? What do I do if I do that?
Oh yeah.
I take up all the dorsiflexion straight
Yeah.
away. So now they've got nothing. Make sense?
Mhm.
So they're just going to fall back.
Mhm.
So if you take the heels up, now they've got more range to go through. So if, like Linda, if she's gone to angle dorsiflexion, I do that. Now she's like, oof, my knees can go forward now.
Yeah.
Oof, now I feel my quads. Now I'm staying upright. Right? But in fact, if she's gone to ankle motion, I do that, she could probably only get her feet to there anyway.
It's not going
She
to
ain't going anyway.
just
No.
falling backwards.
Now, if I raise my toes for the good morning or the RDL,
It really works, man.
you lengthen
Yeah.
the fascia, yes, for sure. But what do you lengthen the most?
Hamstrings, right?
Nope.
Actually.
It's the calf.
Oh yeah.
So you take up all the range of the dorsiflexion, and you probably feel
Stretch.
more stretch in the calf. So it's not so much hamstrings.
I see.
So if you want a little bit of bend, now you get those hips back, then you get maximum stretch of the calves, the hamstring. But now my calves can't help it as much because it's bent the touch of the gastroc. If I take that up, so the gastroc's getting a lot of the attention because it's stretching the most.
Nice.
So you're looking at what's the start point, what position am I taking the joints through, and what's taking the most hit.
I see.
Okay. So remember if I'm going to be squatting, I pronate, what are my muscles doing the most when I move? They're stretching first, and then they contract. So I'm taking that, I'm stretching it more, that's the first thing to contract. Right, so sometimes you get people on the lying leg curl, on the one that, especially the one that has a little bit of an angle on it. With that angle, one muscle contracts in the first 15 degrees of it. Calf.
Yeah.
So people feel their calf a lot on the leg curl machine. I mean, you can talk about cams, all that type of stuff, and resistance profiles, but at the end of the day, that first 15 degrees, typically, depending on the length of the legs too, as well, like Greg might not feel a lot of his hamstrings on that one, right? But then you've got to change that for Greg's legs. But what we're talking about now is one-to-one scenarios where we could change the resistance of the cam and put bands, all that shit on it. We can do that one-to-one. If you've got 9 people, you can't. There's no way. So we got to be very smart in what we do with the tempo, what we do with their position, what we do if let's say it's leg curl, we can put foam roller under their hip to lengthen a little bit more, and then we can potentially not lengthen them because they might bring their calves in too soon, or stop the range of motion at a certain point. Right, so we'll go through that now in a sec. So if I go all the way down, you feel the calves, or if I come down, come up, pause, keep tension on the hamstring, now come through. Or just don't go all the way down, don't bring the calf in, just keep at that point. Make sense? So all we're doing is looking at position and where they feel most of that tension on that muscle. So if we're working that muscle, we want to work the shit out of it. You might feel total hamstrings, Greg might not. So this is the bonus of it. If you understand the anatomy and where that tension comes in, I can still train you two at the same time and still isolate your hamstrings, but I do it totally different for you two. Right? But if I'm just going, Greg, just fucking pull the weight up. Just pull the weight up. You're just going to get a fucking calf pump. Do you know what I mean? If I fucking isolate and get in, Greg, stop it there. Slow it down, stop. At this point when you touch my hand, keep attention on something. Bang, now come up slow. Boom. Now you've got the feeling. Okay, now let's look at it. I can still get him on a hamstring curl and do that, potentially. Right, or change the exercise selection for it. Okay. You need to look at that with Rachel Smallman as well. Potentially look at a foot too.
Okay.
Start with the feet and then work up.
Yeah.
Right. And then give a homework.
Yeah.
Give him homework. Okay. You can't just show up fucking on time and just train. You can't.
Yeah. 5 minutes before you do the exercise.
Give him homework. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go downstairs. What big bang for buck muscle do we want people to be able to activate if they have shoulder issues? Big bang for buck, big muscle.
Lats.
Lats. Okay. So when we're doing rows, so the lats are on the big one. Yes. She's been studying. She saw my little making notes. Yes.
So proud of her, Gav.
You went over your PICP notes, didn't you?
I'm so proud of her. She's not just an admin lady.
Okay. So the lats. People have so inactive lats essentially. Okay. Now what are the little stabilizing muscles around the shoulder? Subscap, teres major, teres minor, infraspinalis. Supra, yep. Up at the front of the chest. Pec minor. Pec major attaches into the humerus as well. Okay. Coracobrachialis, they'll go from the coracoid process there down here into the humerus. So, for example, if you get people with pain, like Simon Fraser, who's coming up like this, gets pain doing that. First place I go is that muscle there, coracobrachialis, bicep muscle. So it's not allowing them to lengthen that as much. So we start to affect that. Now, there's a lot of shit going on, but those stabilizing muscles should just be stabilizing the joint whilst the big muscles do the job. Okay. So if we look at someone come and do a seated row.
Thanks, go.
Come around the side so you can see. So let's say Bex is going to do a seated row. Let me just take that there. So do a few seated rows. Oh, come on, Bex. Okay. Now what's typically have you got a top on there? One of your best.
Should I get my abs
Get your
out?
abs out, come on. You're working on it. She's got abs out, great.
I got ab.
Flabs.
I got rim.
Okay, go. Okay, what's she doing first as she pulls? She's retracting. Is that a good idea?
Should already be there.
Potentially. So remember what we said upstairs. The lengthened position is going to contract first, right? So we need to think about the position they're going to row from. What's the actions of the lats? Extension, adduction, yeah? There's at the shoulder center and rotation, but we can guess a little bit of contraction in other ways as we go through from a rotational point of view. Right, and get her to think about different things first. I'm going to show you why, potentially, you don't want to retract first. Okay? So again, come on this side, because I'm lazy and I just don't want to go the other side. Okay? So let's say she extends her elbows, she comes through and she's lengthening here. If she retracts first, what's going to lengthen? Retract. All this will lengthen first. So that means this is going to pull her back into extension first. Does that make sense? So all the stabilizing muscles that should be contracted up, and this should be taking most of the row first, that's doing the job. So now, let's say Simon Fraser's doing it, for example. What's working harder on Simon Fraser? Teres major, infraspinatus. All that's working harder than the lats to do the job of retraction, then rolling through. So I'm touching Buddha. Go back. Okay? Make sense? So, feel all right? Okay, biceps working? Okay, so what I'm going to do is sit upright, Now, instead of going backwards, humerus here, think downwards this way. Pull there first, and then squeeze in and retract. Different? Okay, and again, reach. So the humerus comes backwards, down, get that contraction there first. So if you're thinking lats, down, elbows in, adduct. So what I wanted to think of is elbows down towards the ribs, lower ribs. Yeah, feel different? Okay, now come forward again. Now what I want you to do is rip that in half. So as you go back and down, rip that in two. Any different? Okay, wrap into her cheekbones. Just like that. Oh my God. And it's just giving there the intent of what to, not what to contract, but the subconscious reaction of contracting. So I give her a task, that should allow her to contract differently. Okay? Make sense? Go again. There's a different lat experience. So now you can really focus on the lats. And I've stabilized the shoulder more. These take less of the pressure. And then you can do retraction work later on. Okay? Make sense? So that's what I'm looking at. When I see people row, I'm thinking, right, no, we're doing that first, which means they're distracting the joint a little bit more. That humerus is lagging now, so that means the lat switch ain't switching on properly. So that means all of those stabilizing muscles are doing a lot of the work to get back in that position. And the lat doesn't. Now the lat's inactive and it ain't being activated. Make sense? So it could be a case of, okay, we do our mobility routine. So how are we going to get that lat activated before we start? Activate it. So come over. So that's the actions of the lats for James. You know he's got to come through into extension. So he's going to come back. But he's going to be actively thinking here. So we want him to know where he should feel it. So squeeze that and bring your arm back down towards you here. Squeeze it. Squeeze it harder. Bring it back more. Bring it back more, sir. Come on. and then he's going to adduct as well. He's going to bring his arm in. Feel that cramp a little bit? Yeah. So that's his activation there a little bit. But then if I turn you this way, you feel it more? A little bit. What if I side bend you as well? A little bit more. Okay, so now we're taking the muscle through his actual contraction points. He's holding it, he's coming back up. And he comes back through it and he does it again. And he's squeezing there as hard as he can. Now bring it back up. Squeeze it more. Don't just go through it, really fucking pull it. And then rotate, then come back down, and then come back up again. And squeeze it in. Okay. And now if I've got like a black band and I'm getting close, I'm getting the pull. And I'm that out. And now he's got that mind muscle connection a little bit more. And then we do rows. So remember that contraction we had first at the beginning of the session? Get that on there. Bang, that's what you should feel. If they're not getting it, then that's when I'll start coming in. Makes sense? But there's those cues as well. Sit back first, don't do this. Josie's a nightmare. She lets her shoulders come forward like this, and then she does that, like, bang her in the head, stop. Like, sit back first. Rip it off. Bring your elbows down towards your hips, and all of a sudden she feel my lats. Just being on it, because they'll just go back to this. Over and over. Makes sense? It's getting those muscles active, and getting them to think about where they should contract from, and giving them cues to really think about where the contraction comes from. They should, this same on this, and that pull down. And that pull down, they've got more range to go through as well. So I think, you think the lats here, where do the lats go from? I've got all this range to go through the lats. That's why I like lat pull downs as well. So I'm coming through there, I'm leaning back a little bit, I've got more range, and I'm bam. So that first pull should be there. Then in and down. Right? So go back to James. He's going to come up. So sit on it first. Sit on it. Don't pull it just yet. Lean back. Okay. So you come in that position. So imagine he's doing the lat pull down. That should contract first. Yeah? Makes sense? Contracted. He's going to come. So this is a straight arm one. Okay? Makes sense? You've got more range there, yeah? Okay? Come back up. Now you're going to bend the elbow. Squeeze. So he's going to get depression. He's still going to get depression as he comes through, but this has to activate it. That's got to be the first one. He's contracting. He's pulling in. He's pulling in. Now bring this down even more. Feel that more? And his face like. Pulling faces now. Okay? So now do that on the lap pull down. That's the way. Different ballgame now, isn't it? Yeah, sure. Okay. Squeeze in. Good. Think about ripping it. Good. Different? A little bit. Yeah, okay. Good. Elbows in more. There we go. So if I say elbows in, what are you going to do? Adduct. So that's why I like to give them cues from the joints. Yes, okay, might be knees out, which could be dangerous. Or elbows in. Elbows in could be dangerous too. But for him, it's stabilizing the joint better and he's working his lats harder. Make sense? So that's why I want us to be looking at, okay, if there's shoulder issues going on, make sure they're activating their lats first. So if they have shoulder, like Simon Fraser or Chris Thomas, for example, shoulder issues, you don't have to be magic and giving them roll in and soft tissue work. First, make sure they just activate it where they need to activate. That's why, okay, in your rest, whack a band up there. Let's get that activation point. In your rest period, do it again. Okay, now go back and do it. Let's fire that up first. No, don't want to retract. Stay there first, activate there. Make sure that pull is coming from the lats. Okay, how's your shoulder feeling now? In between sets, go back again, keep activating. So if they can't overhead press, pain, can't lateral raise, pain, what are we going to do? I can work on the shit that ain't working. So instead of giving them the extensor lift, give them the shit that's going to activate the right areas, and then give them the exercise. Because typically we'll do an overhead press with a row, or a pull down, right? So it's not to say just lighten the weight, give them something that's going to activate the muscle, then switch it on, and then integrate it. So like I did with Linda upstairs, I opened her up, she needed flexibility. Chris Thomas, Simon Fraser, they're going to need flexibility for sure. But in the moment of the session, just activate what isn't being activated and then integrate it into the exercise. And then you focus on their cues for coaching. So they know drop the weight, now activate it, now up the weight again. I mean, there's loads of things we can do with it. But this superset now is just activation and exercise, activation, exercise. Then get a Metcon work afterwards. Make sense? So that's why I seal over the shoulders. That's the biggest bang for the buck one I would go with. Make sure they contract with the lats first. And that's why, because typically they'll try and get that stretch that they can't feel, and then all of a sudden the stabilizing muscles are taking over and doing all the work. Okay? So like this evening, if you're on classes, tomorrow morning, all through the rest of the time, right? Just try and integrate just that one thing. Those one things. What should be going on in the movement? What can I correct for them straight away? Don't be afraid to pull them out of the exercise and go, right, that's irritating you, stop doing it. Come over here, let's make sure things are working. Don't worry, we're not going to have a go at you for that because it's not on the plan. You're doing that for that person, that's perfect. Right? Same thing with the squat. Rachel, so if she's squatting, she's getting that twist. Okay, foot roll ridge. In between sets, on that foot roll, come back in. If she's had back pain, and she's got a barbell back squat, and she's rotating, what do you want to do? Make sure first. Nope. Take the weight off the back first. Because the force is going straight through the back. That's where most of the force is coming from. So that weight's going through the spine, it's compressing the spine. You want to take that weight off first, and make sure so you can roll her feet and give her a dumbbell there. Just in the front now. Make sense? Or dumbbells here, just get a squat in that position so she can move the quads.
We were doing with the barbell and the bags and it was fine.
It was fine?
Yeah,
So
just with the barbell,
okay.
it was a little bit of pressure.
Perfect. So what's the band doing?
Just relieving at the very end. Right.
So the band's pulling the bar back up.
Yeah.
So as the band's stretching, it's taking the weight. So what's that doing to the segments of the spine? It's letting it distract.
Yeah.
So it's not compressing it. So what's that telling you? Don't put weight on the back. Or don't put loads of weight on the back, at least.
You should do so. Right.
Builds there, builds strength around the back. Where else does she need to build strength? All this. Right? She needs a good strong back as well. So it might be the fact that she could use bands, but it might be where she just starts back squatting light and building strength around her hips, her upper back, so she can really stabilize in the end. Make sense? Okay. Good. All right. Any questions? Make sense with the rows? Yeah. Lats first.